Meeting. But we know by now, Harry and Meghan are moving back to the UK. Who saw that coming? Not me. And one thing I haven't heard is how will the British media now be following or writing stories about the two of them and now their children? Because remember, the British media has always been a bone of contention for Harry. They treated his mother and now the way they treated his wife. So I could see one of the conditions of moving was not only security and having a place for their own, but also tabling the crap that the media was saying. Which then goes to show, if this happens, that the family had full access to do this the entire time and just didn't because it was more advantageous for them to allow Meghan and Harry to be bullied. And speaking of the British media, if you notice, they've been running afoul of William, the future king, because they didn't have any other storyline and William isn't popular. Which kind of goes back to when I said the family and the media needed Harry and Meghan because no one cares about William and Catherine. Remember the many times I've said that? So I'll be watching. Also, I'll be watching the many accounts who have been anti-Meghan and they've gotten their name and they've made money and they've gotten followers for being so. It'll be very interesting what they do next. What is her name? Lady C, whatever, who claims to have an insider and to know everything that's going on. You can't tell me that chick saw that coming. Ain't no way she saw that coming. So now their credibility is shot the way it has been since they opened their foul mouths with their foul lies. I'll be watching. Let's see what happens.
Hey, how y'all doing? How are we doing, guys? Well, you all know why I'm here. Y'all know why I'm here. It is being reported that the Duke and Duchess are headed back to the UK. Has been reported by People Magazine and a whole lot of other people. Now, y'all know me. Somebody said we need to quit being pessimists and we just need to believe in the book. I don't fully believe anything until Harry and Meghan, a source that says, I am a Harry and Meghan representative and this is their statement. Okay? But when I tell you everybody's reporting this, everybody's reporting it. And typically Harry and Meghan will issue a statement like, no, that ain't true. If it ain't true, they'd also would issue a statement and letting us know what's going on. So this is what it is right now. And I know if you like me, you have a pit in your stomach. We are worried, we are concerned, and we like, what? We are like, huh? We are gobsmacked. But I'm just going to tell us this, y'all. I said this before. If you are a Harry and Meghan supporter, you just have to support them. And that means supporting them even when you don't understand what they're doing, when you're confused, when you're worried, you don't even agree. But you have to trust that they're making the best decision for them. I trust that Prince Harry will not put his family in a bad situation because they don't have to be. They have a home. They have a life. They're doing fine. They're doing great. We see them out all the time. They're happy. They're doing well. Harry's busy working, booked and busy. Meghan's booked and busy. This is a willing choice that they made for reasons we don't know or understand. And it's really not up for us. It's their life, their family, their decision. And if you support them like I support them, we just have to support them. I couldn't tell you one good reason to go back to the UK. But like people have been saying in the comments, I don't blame them. America is ghetto. America is ghetto. But the UK is not better. Some ways it's worse because the press is the wild, wild west. So all I could say is I can confidently say that Prince Harry would not put Meghan and the children in a position where he did not feel they would be safe or protected. Now I will say during the summer or whenever it was when Harry and Meghan was reported to be going back and bringing the children, and it was like where's he going to stay? He's going to stay here. I was thinking, why don't they just buy a place there? Buy their own place. They have the money. They financially can afford, I don't know, what's it called in the UK? An estate or a villa or whatever. They're keeping their home in Montecito, their beautiful mansion on the hill. And they have a vacation home in Portugal, reportedly. And they said they're keeping that. So just buy a little home in the UK, a little spot for you and the children. And Harry, so we ain't got to worry about where Harry gonna say her, so they can say, oh, he's not invited. He can't say. He have his own place with his family. Now, people are reporting all kinds of things, like it's because of his visa, the kind of visa he has. Every so many years he has to go and stay in the UK for a few months or something. This is what's being reported. That hasn't been confirmed. They're saying that he wants the kids to spend as much time with the dad before his dad's end. That hasn't been confirmed or reported. We don't know. People are just speculating. So with that being said, all of us squatties, all of us Harry and Meghan supporters who just want the best for Harry and Meghan, we have to submit that Harry and Meghan also want the best for them, and that they are doing what's best for them. And what gives me peace is that this time when they are going to be in the UK, they're not at the mercy of the royal family, and they're not at the mercy of the press, the institution. They're literally on their own terms. They can do whatever they want to do. They can live in any part of the UK they choose to live. They can work with any organizations they choose to work. They are free, and that makes a difference. And so I love that for them, and that gives me some solace, so that if things do get to a feverish pitch, and it probably will, they can always come home. You know, they don't have to escape in the middle of the night. They have a home they can come to every so many months. You know, they don't have to just be there. They can always come back home and to their home and be perfectly fine. And, you know, I think it's great. The kids will get to learn more about their heritage and their culture and the legacy of their bloodline and who they are. And that's always great, to know where you come from and, you know, really know. So I just pray that they stay protected and covered. I have a knot in my stomach. I don't understand, but I don't have to. I'm just a supporter, so I'm just going to support them. And I will continue to be here to support the positive, to report the positive, to see the good, to report the good, to continue to spread the light for Harry and Meghan. We're going to all take a deep breath. And we're going to get ready, because, you know, we have all been basking a little bit over here on this side with, we know that they're good, they're protected. We love seeing them out at concerts and charity events, and we love seeing their skin glowing, and Harry glowing and tan and moisturized and relaxed. And we love to see them with their friends, you know, and their family, with be it Meghan's mother or their chosen family like Serena, and all the people who Meghan's best friend, and all the people who they surround themselves who are like family to them. Now, we know one of their closest aides and his partner have recently had a baby, and they moved back to the UK. So Harry and Meghan will have them, and then of course Hassan, the photographer who is their really good friend. I think I'm saying his name right, but he's a really good friend of theirs. They have that. They always have the Spencer family to love and support and to rally around. And Meghan spent a lot of time in the UK. I think she has a lot of friends. And I feel like Ellen DeGeneres and her wife live in the UK still. They left when Trump became president. Like, we all want to get the heck out of here. But I feel like they're still there. I think so. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think they go back and forth as well. And Harry and Meghan are always in and out of UK. You know, whether it's Canada or Australia or somewhere, they're always popping in and out. So I think it's great that they'll have their own spot there. I'm just, again, praying for their safety and for their peace. And just as squatties, just get prepared, because the stories that are about to be ran and leaked, y'all think the last 6 years have been bad. Buckle up, buttercups. We are in for it. But yeah, Let's continue to support our girl. Love y'all. Bye.
Squaddies, this is where I think people need to slow down for a second, because the minute somebody hears Harry and Meghan may be spending more time in Britain, here comes the same old nonsense. They're coming back. The palace has won. The Sussexes want their old royal life. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who said any of that? Harry and Meghan can be in Britain without moving back into the royal system. That's the part some people just don't seem to understand. These two have spent years building a completely different life. They've got their home in California, they've got their children, they've built businesses, they've worked on productions, they've supported charitable causes, they've created a life where they make the decisions. So why would spending more time in Britain suddenly mean they've thrown all of that away? It doesn't. And honestly, I think that's what makes this situation so interesting. Harry and Meghan have choices now. That's the difference. 6 years ago, leaving Britain was a massive decision. Today, if they want to spend more time there, they can do it without giving up everything they've built. They can have a UK base and still have their California home. They can spend time with family and still run their own businesses. They can attend events and support causes without becoming working royals. They can send their children to experience Britain without handing over control of their family life. That's called having options, people. Think about regular families. You've got somebody living in Nairobi with family in London, another person working in New York but keeping a home in Toronto. Somebody lives in one country and travels regularly for work. Nobody looks at them and says, "Oh my God, they're returning to the old system." They're just living their lives. So why does Harry have to turn every flight across the Atlantic into a constitutional crisis? And let's be honest, Harry being in Britain doesn't magically make him a working royal. A plane ticket isn't a palace contract. If Harry wants to see his father, that's his business. If he wants his children to know more about Britain, that's his business. If he needs to be there for Invictus or other commitments, that's his business. And if Meghan wants to continue building her own projects while spending time in Britain, she can do that too. That's what independence looks like. And here's something else. Their California life doesn't disappear because they spend time in Britain. Their businesses don't vanish, their friendships don't disappear, their children don't suddenly become palace employees, their entire identity doesn't change because they're spending more time on British soil. This is not 2019. Harry and Meghan aren't walking back into the same situation they left. They've experienced life outside that system. They've built something for themselves. They know what independence feels like. And that means if they return, they can set boundaries that weren't possible before. That's powerful. Because the old question was, will Harry return to royal life? I think the better question is, what kind of life does Harry actually want now? And maybe the answer is neither extreme. Maybe it's not California forever. Maybe it's not palace life either. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. A family with roots in America, a connection to Britain, children who know both sides of their heritage, businesses operating internationally, Harry able to see his family and continue his causes, Meghan continuing to build her own career, and the whole family deciding for themselves how much Britain becomes part of their lives. That sounds pretty normal to me. The only thing that isn't normal is people acting like Harry needs permission to do it. He doesn't. Neither does Meghan. They've built their own life. So if they choose to spend more time in Britain, don't call it crawling back. Don't call it surrender. Don't call it a palace comeback. Maybe they're simply saying, we can have both. And squaddies, that's the part I love. Harry and Meghan don't have to choose between their past and their future. They can take what matters from Britain while keeping the freedom they've built in America. Britain can be part of their life without becoming their entire life. And that, my friends, is a very different kind of return.
Squaddies, let's put all the palace drama to one side for a minute. Forget William, forget Kate, forget the headlines, forget you said what about Harry 6 years ago. Because there are two little people who could be at the centre of this whole conversation, Archie and Lilibet. And honestly, this is where I think the story becomes much more human, because Harry and Meghan aren't just making decisions as a couple anymore, they're making decisions as parents, and every parent watching this understands that changes everything. You can make a decision for yourself and think, I'll deal with whatever happens, but when you've got children, different story. Suddenly you're asking, where will they grow up? What experiences will they have? Who will they know? What parts of their family history will they understand? And that's where Britain comes into the picture. Because Archie and Lilibet are growing up in California, and that's their home, that's where their everyday life is. But they also have a huge British connection through their dad. Harry was born in Britain, he grew up there, his childhood memories are there, his family history is there, and their grandfather, King Charles, is there. So if Harry wants his children to know that side of their family, spending more time in Britain isn't some crazy idea. It's actually pretty understandable. Imagine being a child and one day asking, "Dad, where did you grow up?" And Harry has an entire country full of memories to show them. The streets he knew, the places he visited, the traditions he grew up with, the stories about their grandmother Diana, the family history. That's something you can't fully explain from a photo album. Sometimes you've got to actually experience a place. And let's be clear, that doesn't mean Archie and Lilibet suddenly need to become little working royals. Nobody is saying that. They don't need to be standing on a balcony waving at 50,000 people. They're children. Let them eat their snacks and argue over who gets the biggest piece of cake. This is about something much simpler: connection. Children can have more than one home, more than one culture, more than one side of their family. Why should Archie and Lilibet have to choose? They can love California, they can know Britain, they can have American experiences, they can learn about their father's childhood, they can spend time with family, they can understand where they come from without having to become part of the institution. And then there's Charles. Whatever happened between Harry and his father, that's still his dad. And Charles is still Archie and Lilibet's grandfather. We don't know what conversations are happening privately, and we shouldn't pretend we do, but it's completely reasonable to think Harry might want his children to have more opportunities to know their grandfather. Because here's the thing about time. When you're young, you think there's loads of it. Then you become a parent and suddenly you realise, wait a minute, these kids are growing fast. One minute you're carrying them around, next minute they're asking for the car keys. Okay, Archie and Lily aren't there yet, but you get the point. Children grow up. Grandparents get older. Family moments don't come with a rewind button. And maybe Harry is thinking about that now. Maybe he's looking at Archie and Lilibet and thinking, I want them to know this part of their family while they can. That's not weakness. That's not Harry surrendering. That's not Harry crawling back to the palace. That's a father thinking about his children. And Meghan would obviously be part of that decision too. She's their mother. If the children are spending meaningful time in Britain, she's not going to disappear to California and say, see you at Christmas. That's not how most families work. They make decisions together. They move around together. They figure things out together. And that's why I think we should stop looking at this only through the royal lens. Sometimes a family decision is just a family decision. Maybe this isn't about Charles. Maybe it isn't about William. Maybe it isn't about the palace. Maybe it's about two parents looking at their children and asking, how do we give them the best of both worlds? And honestly, squaddies, I think that's a beautiful question, because Archie and Lilibet don't have to inherit all the baggage from the adults. They can build their own relationship with Britain. They can know their father's history. They can spend time with family. They can experience something completely different from their California life. And they can still come home to California. That's the beauty of having choices. So while everyone else is busy arguing about royal titles, palace politics, and newspaper headlines, Harry and Meghan may simply be thinking about their kids. And sometimes that's the most important story of all.
Squaddies, this is where people need to take a breath, because the second they hear Harry and Meghan could spend more time in Britain, certain headlines start screaming. The Sussexes are coming back, half in, half out, palace drama. Whoa. Nobody said Harry was dusting off his old royal diary and waiting for William to call with his first assignment. There are plenty of ordinary reasons Harry could want a proper base in Britain. Let's start with Harry himself. The man has commitments in the UK. Invictus, charitable work, events, projects, family, and every time he needs to handle something in Britain, he's potentially looking at a long flight across the Atlantic. At some point, you might simply say, you know what, maybe I need a place here. That's not royal drama, that's logistics. If you've ever travelled for work, you understand this. After enough flights, airport queues and jet lag, eventually you're sitting there thinking, why am I doing this every 5 minutes? Having a UK base could make Harry's life much easier. He could come over for his commitments, stay somewhere private, get his work done, and then return to his family. No need to turn every visit into a massive production. And if that property belongs to Harry and Meghan, even better. They control who comes in, they control when they arrive, they control when they leave. That's very different from relying on hotels or staying somewhere where their location becomes a media guessing game. And let's talk about the children. A private UK home could give Archie and Lilibet somewhere familiar when they're in Britain. Their own rooms, their own space, their own routines. Not constantly packing suitcases and bouncing from hotel to hotel. That's just practical parenting. Now here's where Meghan comes into the picture. People sometimes act as though Meghan being in Britain automatically means she's going back to royal duties. Why? She has her own projects, her own business interests, her own brand, her own work. If she's looking at opportunities across Europe, having a UK base could actually be useful. Britain is right there. European markets are right there. Partners, events, and business opportunities are right there. That's just how international business works. You don't have to live in one country forever just because you started a company there. People do business across borders every single day. So why are Harry and Meghan suddenly being treated like they're breaking some royal law because they might have more than one home base? And here's the biggest misconception. Britain does not equal the palace. Harry can live in Britain without becoming a working royal. Meghan can live in Britain without becoming a member of the royal household. Their children can spend time in Britain without becoming royal performers. They can have a British home while keeping their American home. That's not half in, half out. That's called having a life in two places. Millions of families do this. People have homes in different countries. People travel for work. People maintain relationships across borders. People have family in one country and careers in another. It's normal. The only difference is Harry and Meghan happen to have millions of people watching what they do. And honestly, I think that's why this gets overcomplicated. Everything they do gets turned into a royal chess move. Buy a house, chess move. Visit Britain, chess move. See family, chess move. Go to an event, somebody's already writing Palace in Crisis. Sometimes a house is just a house. Sometimes a trip is just a trip. And sometimes a family is simply trying to make their lives easier. Harry has causes he cares deeply about. Invictus is a major part of his work. He has charitable commitments. He has family connections. Meghan has her own professional interests. Their children have connections to both Britain and America. So why force this family into an either-or choice? They don't have to choose. They can have California. They can have Britain. They can travel. They can work. They can raise their children. They can protect their privacy. And most importantly, they can decide what works for them. That's the difference between the Harry and Meghan of today and the Harry and Meghan who left Britain. They've built independence, they've built financial freedom, they've built their own careers, they've built their own family life. So if they now decide, let's establish a proper UK base, that's not a defeat, that's not falling back, that's not surrender, that's simply another choice available to them. And squaddies, I think that's what people should focus on. Not, are Harry and Meghan coming back to the palace, but how can Harry and Meghan make Britain work for their family without giving up the freedom they've built? That's the real question. And if the answer is a private home, international business, family connections, and more time in the UK while keeping their California life, why not? Harry and Meghan don't need to pick one box anymore. They can build their own box. And honestly, that might be the most Sussex thing they could possibly do. Thank you all for watching. I'm your host, Miles. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe, and join the family. And remember, squaddies, Harry and Meghan are making their own moves, so let the royal chessboard keep spinning. Until next time, stay blessed, stay loud, and keep the tea hot. God bless you all, and I'll catch you in the next one.